Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbird, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, it's been a month since we've chatted or talked about New World. Now we're going to get an opportunity we're going to talk about the entirety of Season 1. We're going to talk about the Rabbit's Revenge, which just went live today. We've had new drops. We've had a couple videos. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. So without further delay, you got anything to say? Welcome to the podcast. Anything you'd like to share with anybody before we get started?
Yeah, geez, thanks, man. It's good to be back, I guess. We haven't had a podcast in a long time because there hasn't been a whole lot to talk about. The season was delayed a little bit, and so I don't think we wanted to jump in here and talk too much about nothing, so we delayed it, and now here we are. So it's good to be back. That's about all I have to say.
All right. Okay.
As far as the intro goes, anyway, thanks for leaving me out of that, dude. What a pal.
I said I was here with BDLG, so I did not leave you out, but let's get in there. Prime loot available. Be sure to claim your spicy gift box. You should be able to just hop in there if you've got Twitch Prime or Amazon Prime, and then you just hop that. It's a pretty standard drop. Obviously, it's free if you have Amazon Prime, so make sure to claim that now. And, that also happened today is the Rabbit's Revenge, Bordy. Everybody's favorite New World holiday where you go out, you kill thousands upon thousands of rabbits, you get nothing. So, Bordy, I know you.
That's not the case.
Not this time, it isn't. But Bordy, you've had a lot of opportunity to do Rabbit's Revenge today. What do you think?
I did. I think it was a lot better. Yeah, it was a lot better, man. I did my whole Rabbit's Revenge in about an hour and a half. It was good. I got my chest and my mask in like less than 200 rabbits. I had both, but the cap now is 400. 400 rabbits, you're going to get everything you need. So there's no more farming thousands of rabbits like we did last year and didn't get anything. Good change, man. I think it's a cool event. The rabbit mask, I'm not mad at it. A lot of people think it looks silly. I think it looks fine. I think it's just a fun thing to have. I think they did a good job designing it. It looks fine. I'm not mad at it. It was a decent event. Now we can just farm it every day, get our gypsum, get our rabbits feed, and move on. Not a big event, but it's something to do, I think.
So now we have rabbit head and chicken legs.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that'll be a popular OPR or PvP transmog for sure. I do like that they did that. I mean, this kind of stuff is fun. Like at the end of the day, it's especially when dying comes, dude, we're gonna see a lot of pink rabbits running all over the place, dude. It's gonna be a great time. Definitely no one's complained about like a neon tiger or anything like that. So we should. It should get pretty crazy when dying comes along. But I'm excited about transmogs and I love that they do kind of this stuff like this in the game. That it makes the events more fun, or obviously more fun to participate in. I've not gotten either yet, the mask or the chest, but last year it took me 15,020 something rabbits to get my chest. So,
15,000?
1,500. Sorry, 1,520.
Dude, 15,000?
No, heck no. I would have quit. I would have rage quit a long time ago. But 1,500's a lot, though, for sure. It took me a lot of rabbits to kill. And obviously this year I've only killed like 100 something, so I still got some stuff to do. I got distracted during stream. I was looking up wood and stuff, and I didn't kill a lot of rabbits. So
that did not sound great, dude.
We're talking about lumber.
A good moment.
We're talking about lumber.
Okay.
Yeah. And
okay, that didn't really clarify still, but
we'll just move on.
The rabbit event overall was fun, man. I did it. I go about things a little bit differently than you do, though. I have a severe case of, I guess, maybe OCD instead of ADD.
I would say you're anal, because I'm OCD a little bit,
I am,
but not in the same way.
Nah, bro. Once I start something, I'm finishing it. So whenever we started the rabbit event, we just grinded. We just did it. That's all we did all morning long for an hour and a half until I was finished. That's just how it goes. That's what I do.
Yeah, I almost rage quit. We can talk more about this later. I was in an M10 in Genesis, and I within 5 minutes, I was like, dude, watch. I'll only do one M10 today. It'll be this one, and it'll be a complete poop show. And it was.
Rip, dude.
It was. Man. So we'll talk more about that later. Well, season 1 ends. Okay, so they updated this, and we're obviously going to talk a lot about season 1 in the main topic of the episode, but season 1 ends July 6th, 2023. They pushed it back, obviously, because of the delay of the beginning. So that's interesting. Obviously now season 2 probably delayed until that date, right? At least. So then that's a good probably neighbor or ballpark number of when we're going to see season 2 is in July.
I would imagine there'll be a downtime between season 1 and season 2.
You think so? I don't think so. No,
you don't think so? You think it'll roll straight from season 1? So you think season 1 will end July 6th, season 2 will crank up July 7th?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
okay, that'd be great. I hope that's what happens. I hope that's how. I hope there is no like week of like downtime and nothing happens. I hope they do roll right in. That would be ideal for sure.
Yeah, because that's the only way that like having the 4 seasons makes sense to me. Is like if there's like around the clock, you know what I mean? Like the season pass ends and then the next day you're working on another season pass, but maybe not. I mean, like obviously they're gonna have to put that up on the PTR like in June or something to make that happen, but I don't think that's too far out. I mean, like, here's the thing, and we're obviously maybe we should just push on through the news, and then we'll talk more about this. But season 1, I mean, like we, you know what I mean. We have the spring event that's going to be coming. We don't know when the start date of that is. I would assume it's after the rabbit event, but I mean, like that's it for season 1, right? I mean, that's all we have to really expect at this point. We got the
there's also the Spriggan event that's coming in that they haven't added yet, which I thought they were going to add for the duration of the season, but
I thought
they
so
didn't
too.
For whatever reason. So
yeah, I never went looking for it. I thought it was in the game already. I just haven't done it yet. I
haven't looked for it either, but as far as I know, it's not there. Yeah,
okay,
I don't think it's there. Yeah, I don't think it's there.
Okay, maybe that might be true, but you know. Even if the Spriggan event's coming in, we got 3 months, right? A little shy of 3 months, and that's all. That's just season 1. So we'll see. You know, it's gonna be interesting to see how season 2, like what else is in season 2. Obviously, we got the worm raid, if that's gonna be available from the jump or not, and I think there's a few other things like another expedition potentially. I'd have to go back and look at the roadmap. But again, 3 months is a long time, Bordy, and I think most people are halfway through, if not all the way through their season pass already. So we'll talk more about that later as well. Forged and Aeternums, these obviously you're our local expert. We got 2 of them. How PTR changed season 1 and the balance of power in March 2023. So Bordy, take it away. Tell us about what the content of these videos was.
Yeah, I think the Balance of Power series is worth watching if you're into combat and wondering how they're balancing the game and why their decisions are what they are. I think those are pretty good. I even think it's worth you watching those, Red. I know you don't watch them normally, but those are pretty good videos. I like to hear the thought process, at least behind how they're balancing and why they change things and whatever. And so I think moving forward, those will be worth a watch. They said they're going to just start doing those pretty regularly. And start trying to explain their balance and the method behind their madness. So I like those pretty good. The how PTR changed season 1 was really just about them taking PTR feedback and how they implement that in the time frame of when those things happen. And I thought it was a pretty good watch too. I wasn't mad at that one. I think both of those are worth a watch. I enjoy the Forged and Aeternums. I know you don't like them, but I enjoy them. I like watching them. It's just like a sneak peek behind the scenes. And both of these were decent. Like in the past, there's been some that are just like kind of fluff content that's just kind of thrown out there, it feels like. But both of these were pretty decent. They had a little bit of substance to them, I thought.
Yeah. I might go back and watch the Balance of Power. That's the one for combat and everything like that. I think it's interesting. We have a lot of discussions about that. I'm sure you do too. And it's kind of one of those things that, combat is a very difficult job to balance combat in an MMO, especially when like New World. So might be worth watching as well.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's it for news. Again, go claim your Prime loot. It's available now. Obviously, there's drops available in New World. This is a reminder for everybody that's collecting drops or maybe haven't even started yet. You have to you watch for 4 hours and claim one piece at a time. You have to hit claim or you will not continue to gather your drops. A lot of people assume that they're done after 4 hours, but you've only collected one piece of loot. And you have to hit claim to get that. So make sure you do that. And then obviously, Rabbit's Revenge is upon us, and season 1 ends July 6th. So let's hop right into the main topic of today, which is season 1. It's been a long time since we recorded the podcast, Bordy. I'll let you take it away. How's season 1 been for you in New World?
So far so good, man. I mean, I've actually been enjoying it. It's kind of fun to go do the tasks. I'm level 50 something through the season pass. I mean, I could have gone through it a lot faster. The first thing I did though, and the first thing I wanted to do was get to M10 Imperium Forge. That's really was kind of my goal. Whenever the other expeditions have released, I was kind of behind the curve getting those to M10, and so I had to go back and kind of get groups together, and sometimes those were a little bit difficult to climb the ladder because it was hard to get groups for certain expeditions. Because like, for example, this week is Genesis and Barnacles, and we all know everybody's running Genesis and not Barnacles, so it was always a pain to try to get those up. So I thought every time an expedition is released, it's going to be a priority for me to go in there, M10 that thing, and then I'm done with it. So we did that, ran it a few times on M10, golded several M10s on the Imperium Forge. A lot of fun, enjoyed the expedition a lot. That was most of my time spent, and then I have recently started working on working through the season pass, 53, 54-ish, something like that. And then today I started rolling gear for PvP. I figured out what build I'm going to run this patch, and I started rolling gear. Got a few BIS pieces. Thank you, Mr. Poppet, for giving me a little bit of stuff there at the end. I got my BIS pants, got a BIS chest, and I'm moving on, man. So that's really where my gameplay has been over the past few days for season 1. It's been fun.
Well, what build are you running now in PvP?
Light melee, spear, hatchet, man. That's what we're doing. Against the grain, there's a lot of ranged, but light melee is not dead for people who think it is. It's 100% not dead. There are people that are successfully running light melee still. I personally feel like the people that got hit most with the patch are like medium bruisers, probably. Light melee is still very much alive and well. It is annoying sometimes in PTR. I mean, in OPR, PTR, geez, in OPR. But if you spec right and I think if you mitigate the proper damage, which is bows and fire staffs, you're fine. They're everywhere though. It can be a bit annoying, but it is still very much alive and well. If you catch someone out with a spear right now is very strong in my opinion. You catch somebody out that's squishy, a squishy mage, squishy bow player, that you can just melt them. It's fun. I think it's very much there. Spear hatchet is back, baby, and I like it. It's fun. It's my favorite build in the game. I love it.
Well, I think a ton of builds right now are definitely getting the benefit of everybody specking against fire damage. So, bows alike, unfortunately. But yeah, I think I've been playing a lot of OPR actually. What I've been doing since the launch is I've just been doing OPR. I did run some forage here and there, but I usually wait until people get their codex up to M10, and then I start just doing M10s right away because I'm lazy, and I know people like you are going to get it up immediately, and then I'll just get in groups with you guys. So that's what I do. That's what I did. It's interesting. I've been playing a lot of OPR. It is basically range dominant right now, unless you're in a group. Or like running a schizo build. But that, the group thing is interesting because I think that's something that maybe will never go away. Interestingly enough, you said a medium bruisers got hit pretty hard, dude. A lot of people have shifted into heavy and running 300 con, and there's like some pretty wild tanky builds out there that remind me or are reminiscent of the paladin builds back from the beginning at launch. That are pretty crazy too. I think sword and shield. People are running like sword and shield hammer, sword and shield great axe, and it's very difficult to kill them at this stage because again, a lot has changed. There's been a lot of balances. We can talk a lot more about that. Obviously right now, in the OPR and the PvP scene, or at least OPR arenas, fire staff is pretty dominant. Interestingly enough, bow, one of the most powerful weapons from the previous patch, is still like top tier, probably one of, if not the most powerful weapons in the game, which is crazy to think about because bow was such a nuisance for so long, and now it still remains that way. Greatsword has taken a hit, but I think is still pretty good. I know a lot of people on our server run schizo, hatchet, greatsword, and do really well with it. So
it's still pretty good.
Yeah, what else have you noticed, like in the changes as far as like PvP goes?
Noticed a lot of the same. I mean, there's just fire staffs, bows everywhere. I mean, it's so heavily range dominant. We've been in a range meta for like 6 months now, and it's just there's no end in sight to the range meta. And I feel like that's the issue that New World is going to have moving forward, and maybe forever, perpetually, and like on into the future. Is like how do you balance ranged with melee? You know, I feel like Fire Staff did need a rework for sure, but now it might be tuned up just a little bit. I can't speak personally on the balance changes that I think should happen to Fire Staff right now, because I have not got my hands on the Fire Staff and dove deep into creating a Fire Staff build. So what I would say, like right now, I know smoldering stacks are a bit much. That's about all I can say about like what I would do with the Fire Staff and what I think need to be tuned down. Other than that, like if I was to sit here and try to speak intelligently about what I think needs to change with the Fire Staff, or what nerfs need to come in for it to try to rein that in a little bit, I would just be speaking ignorance, because I haven't played it yet. Like I have barely touched. I haven't jumped in there enough, you know, and really dove into Theorycraft or make a build and played with it enough. So maybe you could speak on what you think should happen to it moving forward. But all the things you mentioned are a lot of the things I'm seeing too. There's a lot of 300 con builds coming out, testing the new grit changes, which is interesting. As a schizo, those builds don't really scare me too much. I just run away from them. I don't really usually fight those people because it's useless. They're 300 con. If I get in a duel, I can usually win that duel. But it's just like it's ranged everywhere. And the thing that drives me nuts most about the range isn't necessarily the ranged players. It's this meta where people just sit back and they'll just shoot into the clumps, which is just this skillless combat. And that's what I hate about New World's combat right now, and where it has been for a while. I'm not saying there is no skill to use the Fire Staff or the bow. That's not what I'm saying at all. There is skill to use both of those. But what happens in OPR whenever you get a lot of people in there is that you have a mass amount of people just literally sitting back and fireballing into the fort, or shooting arrows into the fort, or there's zero skill involved in that, man. It's unarguable. There's no skill involved in blasting rain of arrows into clumps. It's that type of stuff is frustrating, and it's like, dude, it's awful. And I don't know what they're ever going to do to balance that. I have no idea how they're ever going to rein in range to make it viable in PvP, but also not make it like where everybody wants to play ranged in OPR. It's going to be a brutal scenario for them, and I'm not sure what's going to happen. So we'll see. It's very, very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with combat over the course of the next few months, especially with them saying they're going to start balancing it more frequently, which is a little scary too, because I just rolled a bunch of BIS gear for this patch, and I'm not sure if it's going to be viable next month. And I spent like 150K probably today, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, my $1.5 million support mage set is definitely a nice. A nice
dead right
mantle.
Now?
Yeah, it's all shirking forward everything. But the thing is,
my last patch, dude.
Here's what I think New World does have a problem. I can talk a little bit about the Fire Staff, but I think the main problem that I've experienced in New World, especially like I've been just grinding OPR like the entire time, is that it has a time to kill issue. In MMOs, from my experience, and I think like the way that they're inherently designed is like we're not playing like COD, right? We're not playing Valorant or Counter-Strike. Like the time to kill in New World is way too high. I've been like two tapped dead basically. We've all been there with a bow. You get headshot twice, you get it, your lucky crit, and you're getting hit for like 6K twice, 2 times. And in an MMO, like that can't really be the case. I think, from my experience, that obviously Fire Staff and the bow are top tier right now. Like you said, the spear can do a lot of damage very rapidly. The greatsword does a ton of damage as well. People are getting eaten up, especially like in like even medium armor, to where like it doesn't feel like like you have a lot of counterplay in some situations, especially like in OPR when. Like you said, you're melee trying to run into a fort. You have 5 different fire staffs and bows firing at you. And before you know it, you've taken, 13,000 damage and you died before you got to interact with anybody. Like you don't even get to do anything. You could have infinite dodges and still probably have trouble getting into a fort at some point because of the range issue. This is the suggestion that I have been talking about, is basically I really would like to see them increase our hit point pool or something along that line, to where everybody benefits from, some added survivability, some increased time to kill. Obviously, that might pose a problem with healing, but they could always like reduce healing in a significant way, to where like, obviously, we got a lot of hit points, but then like maybe the amount of healing you can receive is a little bit less. But that's one of the most frustrating things that I think about PvP in New World right now, is that the time to kill isn't on par with most like MMOs, I would say.
So you think it should be more? It should take longer to kill someone?
It should take longer to kill somebody, yeah.
Do you think that would help solve the range problem, though?
Well, I think you're less likely at that point to get, like, you know what I mean? Most of the time you get hit by 2 or 3 arrows at a time, or like maybe 2 or 3 fire staff users start targeting you, and there's no response to it. You're basically dead. I think it gives you a chance as a player to get away from damage, you know what I mean? Or like as a bruiser, you know, obviously the survivability is there, which the 300 con, from what I've been hearing, the survivability is pretty high right now. But most build, there isn't an in between, which has been a problem for a little bit, I think. Is that there is either like you're extremely tanky or you're, you know, whatever. But that was all shirking forward, I think, too.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation, and it's weird because, I mean, ranged, I think New World is interesting because ranged is like a fun play style for a lot of people in the game, and I don't think it needs to like go away by any stretch of the imagination. Like fire staff, bow, all that stuff does take skill to play whenever it's played properly. Like you get into arenas, it's a completely different scenario. But I think most people play in like OPR, and it is a frustrating situation in OPR when you go in there and literally 18 out of your 20 players are ranged players. It's like, man, what do you do? You know, like how do they rein that in? I've seen a lot of suggestions of people saying like maybe make it a queue where you can only have certain weapons and a certain amount of them. But I don't know how they would do that either, because then whenever they start adding new weapons to the game, like what do? You know, or lock it behind a certain amount of melee builds and range build. Like I don't know how you would do that in OPR either with the way the weapons are set up in the game. So it's like an interesting scenario they're in that I'm not sure that it's ever going to be good. Like look at the musket, for example. Nobody uses it now because it's nerfed into the ground, which in my opinion, we've said this on other podcasts, and I still think this holds true. The musket just needs to be removed. They need to replace it with another weapon. In my opinion, that weapon will never be balanced ever. There's no possible way.
What's crazy is the way, and we talked about this already, the way they tried to balance it is not remotely good. Like making it random, like that's not, you know what I mean? Like we've taught, I don't even know if it's possible for them to turn it into a projectile weapon, but that's like the most sensible thing to do, right? Just make it a projectile like the bow, and then the accuracy of the weapon is obviously already decreased in that nature, and you're not having like people clicking heads. Like it's basically like, you know, a skill shot at that point. You know, you have to read your target and where they're moving, and it becomes much more difficult to use, less likely for people to be able to use an effective aimbot on there. There's a ton of things that they could do with the musket, and it's very odd to me that they went like, oh, let's make it random. Like,
well, I'm not so sure that the capability is there, though, like you said.
Yeah, that's what it has to be that way,
maybe why they haven't done it. Huh?
It has to be that there's some sort of stipulation behind it to where they can't fix it, because
seems like they would have done that, right? Because that does seem like the obvious choice, and I think a lot of people have made that suggestion like over and over and over and over again. I've seen it on the forums, I've seen it on Reddit, I've seen, you know, we've made this suggestion, I've heard it on other streams. Like that's just, but again, that's just like one example, because look at that now. It's not getting used anywhere. It's not going to get used in PvP. It's not going to get used in PvE. That weapon is completely dead at the moment.
I tried to use it to hunt rabbits today, and you just randomly miss.
Yeah.
For like no reason.
I've seen one musket in all of the OPRs that I've ran since the update, one, and that's it. And there's a reason behind that. And so now it's like you're in the same position now with like bow and fire staff and these other ranged weapons. Like now, what do you do with those to like completely not allow them to dominate the meta, but make them usable so that the people that enjoy the range play style? You're a range player, I think, right? Like you don't really like melee. So
I always played Fire Staff Ice Gauntlet or Void Gauntlet Ice Gauntlet or Fire. Now right now I'm playing Fire Staff Void Gauntlet. And you're not going to be able to remove that from any game. Like it just ranged play style is something that you have to balance around. And that's where I was getting at the time to kill thing. It's a problem because you get into melee range, you get killed. You get into you're in ranged and you have 2 people target to you, you basically die. There's definitely like a time to kill issue with the game, to where like the weapons like bow and fire staff feel good right now, but the problem is they don't feel good getting hit by them, right? That's something you have to balance as an MMO. You have to make it feel good to get attacked by weapons. You know what I mean? It has to feel fair when you die, or at least like remotely fair. And there's a ton of times when you get pen shot to the face and a fireball at the same time, you just get evaporated. And that shouldn't have, like, I know, like, if the entire OPR focuses you, sure, you should die. But, like, it's like, there's definitely got to be, like, a time to kill that's remotely rewards people grinding out millions of gold worth of gear. And right now, it's not there. You know what I mean? Like I said, I had a Abyss set of support mage stuff, and in an OPR back in the day, it was like I was running around in green gear because it didn't matter that I had spent millions of gold and tons of time grinding this gear set out. I was in medium armor and I was getting 2-shot by a bow. Like, that's just not, like, you know what I mean? That's not balanced combat. And until they figure out the solution to, like, that feeling, like, it should feel fair and good to get killed most of the time, then I think that's one of the major problems of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it should feel fair. I don't know how good it feels to get killed ever, but
well, sure, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
like, I know exactly how I died when I died, which is like exactly, most of the time it's not that way. Like, I just, you see an $8,000, you see an 8,000 damage marker, and then all of a sudden you just, it's just, I don't know.
It's just like, I think it's like the amount of projectiles that come swinging by my face whenever I'm just trying to run anywhere in OPR. It's just like there's way too many, and I think it's a telltale sign. Obviously, whenever you have in a meta or any OPR dominated by a couple of different weapons in the game, there is a massive problem there. And I think right now that problem has been created. But what we may see is, like, the fire staff newness might wear off after a little bit, and it might start to die down. I don't think the bow is going anywhere, though. I think it's here. I think it's just a part, unless they nerf it or do something with it. And I'm not calling for any nerfs for the bow either, because I don't know what to change in the bow right now either. Because, again, I haven't played the bow since the patch, so same thing with the fire staff.
I mean, it's the damage, really. Like, it just does so much damage at range. Like, it's just crazy.
Maybe. The only thing I've done with the bow is not rabbits. So, again, for me to talk about balance for the bow or the fire staff and the specific things they should change on them is like, I'm speaking in ignorance, and I can't speak on those right now. Maybe after I make some specific builds, I could, and we could talk more about it. But right now, I can't speak on it. I just know there is a problem. It's heavily dominated by range players, and there should be a mix. There should be a good mix of range, should be a good mix of melee, should be some fun combat. And once upon a time in New World, there was a time very early on, this was very, very early on, where it was like that. And OPRs were usually close. They were fun. And right now, another problem with OPRs, dude, is they are still very one-sided. I don't know if you've been running into that at all, but, like, I was in one the other day and we won 1,000 to 100. And it's like, man, that's not fun. Like, I win or not, I go in there and I get my rewards. Great. I got an OPR win under my belt. Great. But I did not have fun. Like, that just wasn't fun. I killed like 3 people. Big whoop-de-doo. It wasn't fun fights. We camped them it's like, dude. And then you get on the reverse side of it and it's like, well, I got my reward. It was a quick OPR, but I lost the OPR 1,000 to 100, and there's nothing you can do. It's like, what do they do about that too? And that seems to happen more often than not, and that's an issue as well. It's not fun PvP. So how in the world do you fix all these issues? I don't know. Like, how do you fix that? I don't know if that's a problem that can ever be fixed. I'm not sure.
Not with random queuing. Yeah. Not with random queuing, because a lot of the times, and to your point, like, limiting weapons is one thing, but assuring that, a team has an equal number of 5 stacks on it, I think is very doable. Like, that's one of the problems too, is, like, if you, right now on Orfina, we probably have like 400 to 600 people at any given time when we're playing during the day. I play the same people in OPR. Like, literally, the same 40 people play OPR through the entire day. I play the same exact people. But who's in 5 stacks and getting pocket healed, and the people that are out there doing schizo stuff. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, there should be, like, at least some division of, like, okay, they're in a 5 stack. There's other people in the 5 stack. They shouldn't be on the same team. We need it. You know what I mean? That's most of the time when I notice it's like 1,000 to 100, the other team got the 2 5 stacks, and the other team is like all the, like, schizo, bow, sword and shield, or, like, you know what I mean? It's like the complete poop show. And it's like, they should at least be able to, like, in a way that they separate the arena queues, at least, like, separate the OPR teams in that same nature. You know what I mean? that would make a big difference.
I've seen a lot of people make the suggestion that OPR should be only solo queue, which would be very difficult because it's
not fun either. Because you want to go in there with 5 people. Yeah, it's an MMO.
Yeah, you want to go in there with your friends and whatever, and maybe there's a way. Like, I don't think there should be 2 separate modes, a solo queue and a team queue. There's not enough people to support that. Maybe whenever there's cross server, that would be a possibility. Have a solo queue OPR and a team queue OPR. Maybe that might be a possibility. Like 3 or more people goes into team queue and 2 or less people goes into solo queue or something like that. That might be a possibility when cross server comes in, but right now I don't think it would be a thing. But I have seen that tossed around a lot. I'm not so sure I'm keen on that idea yet. Like a solo queue only OPR. I don't know if I don't think that would make a lot of people
They can't even
happy,
do anything like that until cross server comes, because right now you barely get an OPR on our server. You know what I mean? It's like you have to sit there and wait sometimes for like 20 minutes before.
I don't know. They've been popping since the update for me, even on our server. I've been getting into 3s and OPRs consistently because I think people are trying to do their season pass.
Yeah, which makes a difference.
And so they've just been popping. Yeah, and that's been fun. That's one thing that the seasonal update has brought, is like, even servers that don't have a lot of people on there, all these activities that you usually don't get to do are there, and a lot of people that don't usually participate in them are there. Like, I was running some 3s. I've been running some 3v3 arenas too. And I've been seeing names that I just don't usually see in there. And usually in 3v3s, I mean, you do see the same names over and over, even more so than OPR, because there's only a select few people that like to run 3s. I'm one of those nerds, I guess, that like 3s. I like 3s better than OPR. I enjoy them a lot.
I do too. I wish they were more rewarding to play, because you know what I mean. Like, you only get your PvP XP, and that's where, like, it's like, I love playing arena, but there's like no incentive to do so. You know what I mean? You just basically get the XP, whereas like OPR, now that all the armor upgrades and the weapons upgrade, I've found it to be like at least a somewhat viable way to like grind out PvP gear. Because they have a pretty high chance of PvP perks, and then you get to upgrade them all to legendary. So
I wish you got some arena gear.
Something like that, a cache. Would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be really good. That would incentivize people to play.
Like you said, 3v3 is way more competitive in that sense than OPRs are. OPRs are usually like what you said. There's one team that fires through the door and never goes in, and then the other team has the 5 stacks of bruisers and healers, and they just destroy them. Basically.
The other day, I got into an OPR, man, and I was running to the door, and the whole team was there. We were rushing the door. We were first to get there. And I run in thinking everybody's going to run in. The whole team stops because they all have bows and fire staffs. They all stop at the door, and they started firing in there across. And no, I was the only one that went in. I was like, dude, we're here first. You guys, everybody just stopped. I was like, oh my goodness, man. This is the problem, bro. You guys just want to stop and fire your pew-pews. You don't want to actually come in here and fight. Like, come in here and fight, man. Quit being scared. It was just I got a good chuckle out of it. It was pretty funny. It was like, we were there first. Our whole team could have ran in and easily capped. They weren't even anywhere close, and they just all stopped. Like, oh boy, okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, PvP, interestingly enough, I think is going to end up landing around where it was before the balance patch. Obviously, sans musket, because musket's now unusable, but I think
we're in for another several months of ranged OPRs probably, and I know there's a large segment of the population that hates that.
Yeah, it's interesting because the ranged gameplay is more of a solo thing, right? And what's difficult is, I think like most people want to queue into OPRs as a solo group, but then that is decentivized by the fact that, obviously, because here's the thing. I try to queue in. I've been messing around with builds. So the builds I queue in necessarily aren't the best. Like, they're not meta builds or anything, but I was just trying out like melee stuff. Like, now that 300, the grit perk is on 300 con now and not linked to strength. I was trying a lot of like dex type builds with 300 con. And unless you queue in with a healer, it's torture. It's like pain. You know what I mean? So it's like, when I queue in solo, if I'm going to live and have fun, I have to be ranged because the other people are ranged. And if I play melee solo, I'm just gonna get wrecked most of the time. You know what I mean? Unless I play a pure schizo build, which is not what I was like basically running like heavy armor, spear, rapier, heavy armor, like, you know what I mean? Heavy armor, void gauntlet, void blade. Like those builds are trash when you don't have someone pocketing you, or at least someone healing you, which is sometimes a problem in OPR with, like, you know, making sure that healers are available on both teams. But yeah, it's like it's challenging, right? Because it's like these people that queue in solo are just typically like, you know, I don't want to queue in with my heavy armor build and get destroyed by myself. So it's a weird, the OPR is in a weird place, man. It is balance wise and like all sorts of like, I think the game mode incentivizes too, that you know, you either roll in with a 5-stack or you play solo and play like a rat. Because you know what I mean? A lot of the successful schizo players I play against run away. You never kill them because they have like keen speed or something.
Well, yeah, that's how you play with Schizo build when you're solo. 100%,
right, exactly. So it's like
I go straight for the Zephyr cakes every time. I don't even buy Battle Bread anymore. I go buy Zephyr cakes and I run around like a maniac, and that's, I mean, that's just the way you, that's how you play Schizo build, you know? If you're solo, that's what you got to do, man.
Right. Just run. I need to run fast and not and disengage in every fight. You know, it's like it's weird.
I don't disengage. I'd never disengage if it's a 1v1 or even a 1v2.
What I'm saying is that the game mode incentivizes that gameplay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're solo, which a lot of people I think play solo. You know, obviously there's I don't want to say try hard groups, but people that go in 5 stacks and then, which they have tons of success, right? But yeah, I mean, again, like that's the,
you have a 5-stack on your team is you can completely change the tide of an OPR without a doubt. You can easily win the OPR with your 5-stack, 100%.
Right, and mainly it's because I think, you know, again, that's where the other side of the meta lies, is running with a coordinated group that can, you know, battle ball people and you know, how do you balance around that? You know, it's very challenging. I don't know. I don't envy the person that has to do the balancing in PvP. But, and a lot of people mention this in chat, and I think it's very viable, or at least a good discussion, is the sandbox. It might be the problem. The separation of the sandbox might be the only solution that may never happen. And
what
that's
do you mean, separating PvP
balancing,
and PvE?
yes, balancing PvP and PvE separately. And that's going to be a really tough one to swallow, I think, for the New World team.
Yeah, I think it would be, and I think it'd be a very long time until we see something like that happen. You know, we've heard Scott say multiple times he wants them to not only coexist but to complement one another. And to be perfectly honest, man, that vision is not getting realized right now. It hasn't gotten realized for a long time, and there's several different reasons because of that. Balance is one of them, but just the underlying mechanics behind a lot of other things in the game is the other one. You know, and then you have wars to think about too, which is a whole other ball game you have to balance for. Mm-hmm. I don't think they necessarily ever balance for threes, but wars. Have you played in a war since the update?
Nope, I have not. I haven't even heard anything about wars, to be honest. I've never, you know what I mean? I haven't heard anything about balance or like what the meta is or anything like that.
I haven't kept up with it anymore, man. I kind of retired from wars for a little while ago, man. I just don't enjoy pushing territory. The war scene, the political scene, all that stuff. It's just not for me anymore. I'm not trying to get into that. I actually despise that side of the game a lot. It's like the worst. So I don't mess with it, man. You know, I'm kind of retired from it. So I haven't played in any. I was hoping you'd played in some or heard something about it so you could enlighten me on what was going on in the war scene, because I don't really know what the meta is right now for wars. I don't know who people are slotting, what they're slotting. Used to know the full rosters, what people were slotting and why, but now I don't even know. I don't keep up with it. I don't really care, if I'm being perfectly honest. But
anyway, one of the problems I think is the time gating and the people gating. You know what I mean? I can't devote a lot of time. Like when I'm streaming, I would love, if wars were available to do when I'm streaming, I would definitely do them a lot. But they're not. You know what I mean? We're on East Coast. We play on East Coast.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
Yeah, it's just there are no wars, so you know, it's not something I can do on stream. You know, a lot of the people I think a lot of people that stream in the evenings do wars. You know, and I think it's good content. I would want to do it too. There aren't any when I stream, so.
Well, that's one of the big reasons I don't participate in it outside of the politics and pushing territory and whatever. Is like I'm not on at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or whatever to participate in those.
Family.
Like, I'm with my family. I'm at a baseball game with my son or at a whatever. And the times when we were doing a lot of wars or participating in a lot of wars is like I had to adjust my schedule completely just to sit down and play a war. And to be honest, man, that felt real bad to have to be able to like hey, wife, I have a war tonight. I got to go sit down and be here for an hour so I can get prepped and then go participate in the war and whatever. Like, I need to go. It's like, man, I don't want to do that. I just want to sit down, play the game, enjoy every aspect that I want to enjoy, and then move on. So I'm kind of retired from them at the moment for the time being. At some point, I'll probably get back into there, start doing wars again, maybe. But I'm so against the way they have all that set up. It's just so tilting. I want more PvP, more options to PvP, ongoing, constant PvP in the world. I don't want time-gated PvP where I have to be at my PC at 7:00 p.m. to do something in a video game. It just doesn't feel good. So. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that, man. I just was hoping you'd played in some so we could get some insight on what was going on there, but I don't know, so I can't provide that insight either right now.
Yeah. I haven't yet. I'm gonna try to get into some, just for like you said, the sake of being able to see what's going on in there, but it's challenging for me to get to my PC during the war window on the Eastern Coast. Like me and you both live Central. Because, like I said, when the window starts is when I'm with my family, and then after that, like I usually am back on my computer working on content. So, if it was to happen during stream, which I don't think is going to ever happen, because the time gating during that window doesn't make a ton of sense for anybody, because most people are at work then. So that what I mean, it'd be weird for them to lose their territory while they're at work, or during the normal work hours on the Eastern Coast. So, I don't know, man. It is what it is. That system definitely. It doesn't really allow itself to be played with casuals anyways. So, okay. Yeah. There was a hiccup like we hoped or wouldn't happen because of all the delays, but there was a pretty massive bug at the launch of season 1. People logged in and were missing their gear. That was a pretty big issue. I to my understanding, there are some people that haven't gotten their armor back yet, which we might want to discuss. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I've just read stuff, people saying that they still haven't gotten their gear back. And then there was some crafting issues. So Bordy, delay after delay after delay. Which, they were being transparent through the delay. I wish maybe they probably didn't know it was going to take a week, but maybe just one delay would have been sufficed. But now after 3 delays and then people missing their gear, it kind of unfortunately plays into that narrative that New World has surrounding it with like kind of being bug ridden and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts about that initial bug, or that group of bugs, when the season 1 launched?
Yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate for sure. I was hoping that nothing big like that was going to happen and they were going to have a super smooth launch, but unfortunately that did happen. It was apparently people that were at death's door and they logged out. They lost their gear somehow. I don't know how that happened. I think the response was fine. I think they're giving 50,000 marks of fortune to those people, which is an amazing value. Like, holy crap, that's a lot of marks of fortune. So I think their rebuttal or the response to that is excellent. And I think that's really the most important thing, is like, how do you handle those situations moving forward? It's just not good. It's just not good whenever those things do happen. But I think from what I understand, they have gotten it handled and given everybody their gear back. I don't know. I haven't heard of anybody saying they haven't got their gear back yet, like you have. Maybe that may be the case, may not. I don't know. But nonetheless, they're getting like 50,000 marks of fortune is a lot of marks of fortune, man, for some missing gear you had equipped. So, and they're obviously giving their gear back. So I think it was handled properly after the fact. It was unfortunate that it happened. As far as the delay goes, man, I didn't care that they delayed the patch. It didn't matter to me at all that they delayed. And I put a video out about this on my thoughts, because it was like this situation where people were mad about the delay. I wasn't upset about the delay, but I was a little bit disappointed in the way in which they handled the delay. I didn't like that they just squeezed it in these leaderboard posts on the forums. I thought that was a bit like, I don't know, I don't know if tacky is the right word. I'm not sure, but I didn't like how they handled it, man. We have this massive update coming up, this massive Fellowship of Fire Season 1 update coming up, one of the biggest updates New World's ever received, and it's delayed, and they sneak in the delay announcement. They didn't really sneak it in, but they just decided to put the delay announcement in there with the leaderboards. And it's like, man, this patch isn't about the leaderboards. Like, this is about much bigger. This patch should be publicized. It should be this big deal. You should be making the big deal that the patch is getting delayed. This is the patch. Like, we're delaying it. We're sorry. We know this is a huge deal for a lot of players, but we're delaying it indefinitely. We'll let you know when we have an update. And then post that every day. Don't slide in the announcement in this goofy, like, leaderboard announcement. I hated that, man. I thought that was very bad. I thought that was terrible. But other than that, I didn't care about the delay. It was fine. Things happen. It is what it is. The delay wasn't the problem. Just the way in which they announced it just didn't sit well with me. That was it. Other than that, I think everything else has been fine, man. I think all the other bugs, there's some crafting problems that happened too, which, I don't think has been anything just super major except for the gear missing. That was pretty major, but I think they've handled that. And so all in all, it could have been a lot worse. Unfortunate those things happen, but at least they're getting them handled. I think they handled it well enough.
Yeah, well, I think we want. Personally, I wanted them to delay. I want them to get into the habit of fixing the things that are reported in the PTR, because I think as a player or someone who enjoys New World, that's the most frustrating thing to me when a new patch happens. Is there were a ton of bugs because we do dedicate time. I mean, me and you play a lot in the PTR. I think I'm almost 1,000 hours in the PTR alone because we do a lot of testing for guides or content. And whenever people report these bugs, these game-breaking bugs in the PTR, the fact that they don't get fixed before they push the content live is not good. It just isn't good. That, especially game-breaking bugs, which historically has been the case. There's been a ton of bugs that have been reported that still see the live client, and that's something that they gotta fix. They gotta figure out how to fix that for sure. And if that's delaying the content, then I'm all for it. Just delay the content. Maybe get do whatever you need to do to make sure that these game-breaking bugs don't hit the live client, because you got people out there right now who lost their gear. That's not good at all. You know what I mean? And if the fact that the patch has been live for almost 2 weeks and they still don't have their gear back, that is also not good. It is not good to I feel stupid for having to say this, but it's true. Like that is not what you want as a PvP or as a MMO game or any video game for that matter. So that I don't care if they delay the content at all. I just need them to make sure that the bugs that we're worried about, hitting live, that people that they kind of complain sometimes that they don't get enough testers on the PTR. Well, there are people testing the PTR reporting bugs that aren't getting fixed. So we got to figure that out. That's a huge hole or a huge transgression that needs to be worked out. And I'm with you. I don't care if they delay. Just tell us you're going to delay. You know what I mean? Say like we've been through PTR testing. We have had several game-breaking bugs that have been reported to us, and it's going to take us this long to fix these bugs. Okay, that's fine with me. I know people get butthurt, but it's the internet. People get butthurt about everything. So
no way.
So, dude, like, just do what's right. You know what I mean? Delay the patch, fix the stuff, and then get it to us.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, in all fairness, they don't want this stuff to happen either, man. And that in one of the Forged in Aeternum videos, I think Scott he gave a big apology for it, and you can see like, man, they were not happy about it either. Like they don't want this stuff to happen either. So it's not like they're doing this stuff intentionally or whatever. It's just unfortunate. It's not a good look that things like that do happen, and they give a delay, and then there is a really pretty bad bug that comes into the game. Like
that's completely different than what I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean the ones that are reported and aren't getting fixed. That is not good at all.
Yeah,
I know they're not trying to screw the game up. Like I don't like. That's kind of one of those things that's like. I definitely know that there's remorse. Like, we've had an opportunity to meet a lot of the New World team, and they're very sincere and genuine about delivering a good game experience to the player base. Like, I don't question that at all, but there are some things that I think need to be worked out. And that is just basically that, like, if someone reports something on the PTR that's going to give, like, half, even 0.5% of players like a really terrible experience, then you got to fix that before it goes live. And I don't think that I don't know if this gear disappearing thing was one of them, but I'm just saying, like, in the past that it has been the case.
Yeah,
there have been bugs reported that have made it to live that really screw things up in a severe way.
Yeah, for sure. So all right. So we talked about PvP quite a lot. Have you PvE'd much? Have you experienced PvE, and what's your thoughts there with the new changes? We'll shift off that topic a little bit. But...
Yeah, so I have done PvE. I really at this point I don't really I don't really see that much of a change in PvE. I feel like for the most part, people are still using the same weapons. You know what I mean? You occasionally get like a fire staff or a bow in there. But for the most part, people are still using melee weapons, specifically like the greatsword. I've seen a lot of hatchets in Gen, but that's kind of a different thing. Spear, still pretty prevalent. I think those weapons are pretty strong. They're going to be strong. They're going to stick around for a bit. Survivability is an issue, but I don't think it's as big of an issue as everybody played it out to be. You know what I mean? I still think there's like a pretty decent skill gap there. And if you don't, you know what I mean? If you dodge what you're supposed to dodge and, your healer's putting down a sacred, I still feel like it's pretty similar. The problem, I think, with our servers, they're just the pool of people that are available to do M10s is very small, and
you're just getting in the wrong pools, man. You're getting in the wrong groups, dude.
Hey, bro, I was watching your stream earlier. You guys were wiping on the Grove Keeper or whatever the fudge.
That's because we were doing some silly stuff, man. We were experimenting and trying some silly stuff. We ran a couple before that and it was fine, but we were running 5-con builds just to test it out, and I don't see any difference in there, to be perfectly honest. All of the one-shot mechanics that are gonna kill you are the same one-shot mechanics that are going to kill you. Same thing. Like I don't see any difference. I think 5-con light armor, you can still do it. I think it's still very viable. It might be a little bit harder to do in some situations. What I didn't do though is throw opals in my gear. I should have tried that. I went full on rubies in my gear this time around because I went 5-cons, went full rubies with the fire amulet to mitigate all that damage, and then went 5-con, and it was fine. Like I don't think you can still do it. I don't know that it's gonna be that big of a deal. I think people were thinking you're gonna have to go medium armor or whatever. I don't think that's the play at all. 100% light armor still for DPS in there. I don't see a lot of change with the ward gear. Like the fortified changes, you're a little less tanky, but all
people
in all,
weren't like other than what you were receiving from the life staff. I wasn't running like Shirking Fort in my mutation gear anyways. Like I think it was like completely overblown.
Yeah, but I didn't run it either.
But the thing, one of the things is I do think and someone mentioned this earlier in chat. I do think like the M10 scene is, and I mean, I grinded it out. We both did from the jump. You know what I mean? I've done countless M10s, and it's pretty stale at this point. And someone made a good point that we will have to wait over a month to see Imperium Forge again as a mutation. And that's another thing that's like, you mentioned something a little bit earlier where, it's Gen week. Everybody's going to be running Gen for like the 1 millionth time. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this system needs some sort of like, I know like it definitely needs squish, like instead of 10 levels, let's do like 3 or 4. But also like, there's got to be some variety here, I think. You know what I mean? Like the 2 a week thing is I don't know, man. It's just not it, dude. It's not it.
Well, I think one of the things they could do, in my opinion, like the Imperium Forge this week or this season, there are season track like things in there for you to. I think M10 the Imperium Forge, right? I think like M10 at 10 times or something like that. I think there's specific journeys or whatever for that expedition. If there's not, maybe I'm misremembering or whatever. I'm not in the game right now. I don't know. But I think there are. And I think in order to get that journey, you got to wait until it comes back and then run it a whole lot. I think it's one of the season challenges. Somebody in chat just said, yeah, it's on the season challenge. I'm pretty certain it is. And it might be like M10ing it 25 times or something like that. It's something along those lines. I think one of the things they could do is just leave the Imperium Forge open for the entire season as a mutated expedition. It's the new expedition that came in with the season. Just leave it open the entire time and have 2 additional expeditions rotate through. That way people can get their season challenge done. And maybe that would add a little bit of variation, and it is the new expedition that everybody wants to do. I would run that, probably a lot more, because all the other ones are still, for us people that have been playing the game for a very long time. It's like, man, you're not wrong. Like running M10s.
I have them all the names. Man, like I literally have every named out of every mutation. And,
I do too.
Yeah, there's no reason to do them other than like the shards and the random drops, which is fine. But I think that's a good idea. That's at least an improvement on the current situation. You know what I mean? The current thing, especially if it's going to be a requirement on the season pass. Like, how many times from now till July we're gonna have 3 attempts? You know what I mean? Right. Or maybe even 2, depending on how it falls. So it's like it's not great.
Most players won't even have it to M10 to even attempt to get that season challenge done, because most players probably don't even have that expedition to M10 right now anyway, because it's, it takes a little while to get it up there. If I didn't play the game as much as I did, I wouldn't have it there. We're just fortunate enough to be able to play a lot. And so I was able to get it up to M10. And so now I could, maybe next time that rolls around, but see, you also got to remember you're capped at 25 runs a week. So, or whatever it is, whatever the thing, a week. Yeah. So you're capped at 25 runs. So if you don't gold that thing all 25 times in that run, and I think I could be misremembering, but I'm almost certain it's 25 gold runs is on the seasonal challenge of the Imperium Forge. That could be wrong.
Holy fuck.
I could be wrong. Maybe somebody in chat can clarify, but I think that's what it is supposed to be. I think that is what it is. It could be misremembering. Okay, they said correct. Yep, 25 gold runs. And I think it's 25 gold of the Imperium Forge. Well, you're locked to 25, and golding that expedition is what are you doing? Smelling your pits, dude? What are you doing there with your shirt, man? You about to take it off?
What are you talking about? Talk about the Imperium Forge, Bordy. I don't know what you're saying.
So I think they should just leave it, because 25 runs, you're capped at 25 runs. What's the odds of you golding all 25, even in a really cracked group? There's something that's going to go wrong in there. You're going to get burnt out. You're probably not going to gold all 25 in a week, and only being able to try that 3 times. That's a pretty lofty goal for most players, even a lot of veteran players, to gold that 25 times within the 3 months, whenever you're only going to see that rotation like 3 times maybe. So that's just not good. I think they should just leave it open.
Yeah. I mean, they could switch them daily. I don't know what the solution is, or leave them all open all the time, rotate the mutations. I'm fine with any of those things, but I don't know, man. To be honest, like, it's just the mutation system would be an awesome complement to a good PvE endgame, but I don't think the mutation system is a good PvE endgame. Does that make sense?
What would you want to see? Like raids. Well, I know what your answer is going to be.
Yeah, raid lockouts. Like, you know what I mean? You do the raid, you finish the raid. That's it for the week. You got your drops. The drops are unique. It's standard. It's MMO gold-clad content, and I think New World really needs that. But like I said, the mutation system would be fantastic on top of something like that. But forcing it to be the end game for PvE is not good. It's too repetitious. Obviously, raiding can be repetitious, but you lock out weekly, and then you keep adding raids. Is just the tried and true formula. So yeah, I mean, here's the thing. This is coming from a place of probably like I don't know how many mutation like M10 clears. Like, it's just. I'm just burnt out on it. But the thing is, I do think overall, like, I think the system could use a lot of work still, for sure. And not finally, but another thing. This is a long podcast. What are we at? Oh, we're only at an hour.
I think we've covered like mostly everything, man.
Loadouts. This is a big one, though. Loadouts. Loadouts are here, and they cost $5 a piece. And the thing about it is there's only 9 of them, and that's only if you finish your season pass. So there's 8. So there you get 2 for free. There's 6 that you can buy. So that's $30 worth of loadouts, and then you get 1 at the end of your season pass. What do you think, Bordy, about loadouts? The implementation of loadouts. What are we looking at? You give me your hot take first take.
So loadouts in and of themselves, taking them just how they are now, I think they are an amazing addition to the game for a lot of different reasons. I think it's something the game desperately needed. I think they need to improve upon them. And I'm not talking about paying for loadouts. That's a whole separate issue. I'm talking about just the implementation, how they function in the game, I think is great. I really do like them. It's very easy to switch gear. I've been using them a lot. They're very nice. I think they did mention, a lot of people are saying, well, this would be way better if it was a complete loadout, not a gear set. Well, you're true, but they mentioned a long time ago in one of their videos that they were debating on whether or not to add gear sets and then add a complete loadout to the gear set later on, or hold off on adding gear sets altogether until they could roll out a complete loadout. So they are going to do that. At some point, we are going to get, along with the gear sets, a complete loadout. It'll be attributes, it'll be abilities, and that'll be amazing. That'll be incredible whenever that happens. That way we can just one button click. We have everything we need, abilities, attributes, gear, everything swapped. That'll be great. And that is coming. I think that is coming. So everyone who is complaining about that aspect, I think a little patience there, and we'll see that implemented in the game. That'll be amazing. But right now I'm happy with the state of them, man. I like them. I think they're great. What I don't like is the $5 gate, probably every other player in the game. I think that's just like I don't like that at all. It's a quality of life issue that the game really needed to have fixed, and then they're charging us this money for it. It doesn't feel great. Then you also only have 9, which also doesn't feel great because I have so many sets in the game. But on the same topic, if you add infinite amounts of loadouts, then your storage is just going to be like, it's just like infinite amounts of storage.
Well, I mean, so you need it for like other like items, but not gear.
Right. So and I have tons of gear, so I could just buy loadout after loadout after loadout and clear out my inventory, and then storage would be free. So I kind of understand, but I think 9 is far too little, because I have sets for everything, man. I mean, all of my refining sets. I have multiple sets for expeditions. I have multiple PvP sets. I have gathering sets, for Pete's sake. I mean, I have luck sets. Like, it's just cumbersome, and the system is cumbersome, and it'd be great to have a way to manage that a little bit better. So I think adding additional loadout slots, and maybe we'll get some in the future. Don't like that you have to pay for them. I don't like it's capped at 9. I am looking forward to them adding attributes and skills to the loadouts and making them a full gear set or a full loadout instead of just a gear set storage thing. But overall, the first iteration of it, I think they're good, man. I really do. It's very convenient. I like them. I really do.
Yeah, I like the product. The delivery of the product was very unfortunate, I think, because, and this is only because, the game needed something like this because of the design of the way the game is designed. It needed something like this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because you need so many different sets of gear. Part of the end game in New World is to grind out different sets of gear for different activities, and then there's no search system in your inventory. There's no search system in any of your storages. So you're basically left to your own device and recognition of a thumbnail to find your gear on a regular basis. So now they implemented gear sets, which helps you find the gear set you need, but then they charge for it. It's like, no, the game needed something like this from the jump, and it does feel really bad that they're charging for it, and that there's still no search functionality in your search. Like, there's still very difficult to find your gear. It's like I almost to the point where it's like, I know I probably have a BIS set of PvP armor somewhere out there that would be great for this meta. Will I find it? No, I won't. I have too much stuff, and that's part of a me problem, because I have like 3,500 hours in the game, but at the same time is like, bro, like this, like, why is that a barrier to play the game? Like, why is that like you know what I mean? Like, it just, these quality of life things need to be. There needs to be something that is implemented into the game, as opposed to like we're gonna sell it to you type of thing.
Yeah, I would agree. That part of it doesn't feel great at all. Implementation of it right now, I think, is fine once they iterate upon it. A few things I would love to see for inventory management moving forward that I really, really hope we get at some point is a named item sticker book. I think that would be amazing. It's an ESO system that they implemented, and I think they should rip a page right out of that book and basically copy that system. It is so good. And there's already shoot, the crap you get from the dungeons whenever you run them and you salvage a piece of gear. What's that called? The materia. There's already materia in the game, so it's like you could use that materia. The way it works is you get it. Yeah, you get it in the game.
Destiny 2 has the same system. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good, man. For people that don't know, but how it works is you get a piece of legendary gear. Once you get it, if you don't want to use it, you salvage it, and then it automatically goes into the sticker book. You don't have to go ever farm it out again. You just click in the sticker book, and then you use a set of whatever. In this case, it'd be materia, a very small amount, and then you get that item. So that way you don't ever have to keep all these items ever. And then on top of that, there's achievements tied to gathering or finding all of the named items in the game, which would be incredible, I think. I think that'd be awesome. That'd give me something to do, something additional to do in the game. You better believe if I have a sticker book and I have a visual representation of what items I'm missing in the game, I'm going to collect those. Yeah, me and every other OCD player in New World would do it, I guarantee you. And there's a lot of people like me who want to collect everything. We would do that. Without a doubt, we would do that. So I think that would just add another layer. It would clean up inventory a lot. That's one of the implementations that I think would be an excellent fix. And then allow us to search our inventory by perk, man. That would be another amazing thing. And then for the love of everything good, yeah, or at all. The love of everything good, allow me to pick up an item in my inventory and move it around in my inventory to where I want it, so I can sort my inventory how I want it sorted, versus like only having a few options, wait time, whatever. Let me pick up an item and drag it into another slot. Like, why can you not do that? That drives me nuts. I want to be able to do that. But other than that, overall, I think it's getting there. It's getting good. Those are just some QOL fixes I would like to see for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I think at the end of the day, I think this is just another one of those things that it was good on paper. The gear set storage was good on paper, but it was over clouded by the fact that that there's so few of them, and that you had to pay for a large majority of them. You had to pay for 75% of it, and there's only 8 possible, 9 if you finish the season pass. So it's like, again, it would be good for, like, the season pass was enough of a jump. It's like, okay, now there's something more that New World could monetize and I think it's great. We haven't talked anything about the season pass, the main thing of the season. I think the season pass is fantastic. I think it is a great thing that for players that continually play the game, and I think it'll be really good when they like start to pile on more content on top of it, such as like an expansion or something, because then when people return, they'll be like, yo, there's a season pass that I can grind out while I'm also enjoying all of the other content that New World has to offer, while I'm also enjoying the expansion content. I think that's like the perfect recipe to keep people long term, or keep people at least around longer than Brimstone did. But that was probably enough, right? Go ahead and dish out, like, give us like 10 gear sets for free. No one thinks about the gear sets other than like, these are super dope and very valuable to me, because the game really needs these. And then also do the season pass, where like it's like, here, and we have this other thing you can pay for. But I don't know, man. Just all of it together was like a recipe for like, Reddit Central. But overall, I think the content they introduced with the season pass is fantastic.
I like it too. I enjoy the season pass as well. Like when you're out doing just normal things, it gives me something to do that I wouldn't normally do. Some of the activities that I wouldn't normally do in the game, and then it feels rewarding because I'm getting experience for that and whatever. And so I like it. I do enjoy the season pass as well. The only complaint I have about the season pass was the story. It was an hour and a half long, and that was it. I'm probably less than that. I think I finished the whole story in like an hour and 15 minutes probably. And it's like, man, for people that are coming back to the game to experience the new season, and I know I have seen this comment on my stream multiple times, people were very disappointed that it was like, man, I came back, I've already played through everything. Like, I don't really care about running through the whole 100 levels of the season pass and grinding that out. I just wanted to come back and experience the new story and experience the new stuff of the season. And it was very short. And I hope they iterate upon that in the future and make that a little bit longer. Make it like a big thing, a big part of the past that people want to come back for. I think it was a step in the right direction for sure. I think it was really cool. They introduced some fun characters to the game that I thought was pretty funny. Some of the story was pretty funny there towards the end. I got a kick out of it. I think overall the story was fine. It was good. I just wish it was a little bit longer, a little extended a little bit more. Maybe like maybe several hours worth of story versus like an hour that literally anybody that plays the game casually or not casually can come sit down and play through. Like, I think you want to give your casual players a reason to come back to the game. Like, you get off work, you want to come play through the story, you sit down, you play through it in a night. It's not great. You want to come back and sit down and have a few nights worth of content to play through. I think that would be a lot better.
Yeah. It's it's interesting because like I haven't followed any of the story in New World at this point, but it was kind of cool to have some like mini thing to set down and kind of grind out. It does help, like I think with players that were returning, to have like some neon neon billboard like the story quest line to kind of get people reacclimated to the game and give them something to do. So yeah. I agree. It could be a little bit longer next time maybe, but overall I think the idea of seasons and the season pass, the season story, kind of pre-announcing what's going to happen during the season, all this stuff is very positive. We probably should have started with this, but I definitely don't want to be discouraging of those sort of things because I think they are very good for the long haul or for the game to be successful in the long term, is to have things like this that players can look forward to on a regular basis. So.
Yeah, for sure. Overall, I think the update has been a success. There has been an uptick in players as well. It's not a large one, but I think they are retaining the players they have, which is a great thing. We'll see how long this lasts over the course of 3 months, because the season is a long time for 3 months. I think most of the hardcore players will have already gone through a lot of the content pretty quickly. But other than that, man, I think overall it was a success. I have enjoyed it. It has kind of reinvigorated me for the game a little bit. I have had fun with the new season so far.
Yeah, me too. I as I said a little bit earlier, I'm not sure how long it'll last because of the gap of content between the Rabbit event and the end of this season. But I do think it's a step in the right direction, and I think the more content that New World gets, the more effective it will be. Does that make sense? It's like the more content that they continue to layer over the top of seasons and the season pass and everything like that, I think the more effective it'll be on retaining players.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, that about does it for the episode. Bordy, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, man, just twitch.tv/BDLG, and of course studioloot.com, dude. We're working hard over there. We got some new content coming.
I think
we are going to cover another upcoming game, Wayfinder, if you guys are interested in that. We're pumping out guides over there, kind of on a halt, waiting for some new content to come before we can actually release a lot of our content over there. But yes, studioloot.com. We are going to be pumping out lots of content over there. And then of course newworldfans.com, where you can find all of the New World content, because this is a New World podcast, so make sure you go visit that as well. We have covered everything, and I think, Red, we have everything updated for the new patch. I think, right? Unless we haven't.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, we're putting out. We are going to do more newer, different PvE PvP builds, but yes. Everything, we still have everything over there that you need for the game for sure.
The old ones have been updated, I think, for the current patch, but we just don't have the newer ones up yet.
Yeah, Scythe,
we will get them
up. Our homie, Studio Loot Guru Scythe has been helping us update those builds. So yeah, he's we're not doing all the PvP builds. Don't worry, everybody. Scythe, top tier PvP guy is working on them too. So definitely check them out. And then dude, again, studioloot.com. It's the project that we've always kind of had. Our goal is to have a website like Studio Loot that can offer tons of content to you guys on a regular basis. So go check that out as well. Thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it. On behalf of me, BDLG, and Sebastian, our beautiful German partner.
You called him by name, bro. That's what I like.
Take it. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in another episode of New World to Go.